This podcast features mortgage banker Cindy Vandiver, NMLS 164102. That's Stockton Mortgage, NMLS 8259, Equal Housing Lender. Views and opinions expressed are those of Ms. Vandiver and do not necessarily reflect those of Stockton Mortgage. Ms. Vandiver's information should not be considered to be legal or tax advice.
It certainly is a challenge to help navigate our parents or grandparents through senior transitions. When I worked in the senior care industry, I was helping a family on an occasion, and as I was sitting there and speaking with this husband and wife, they began to share about their challenges and the help that they needed in their home. And it was such a really warm and great conversation with the couple, and this very loving husband was trying to help her and meet her needs because she was very limited in being able to even, go anywhere except for maybe doctor's appointments. And so as we sat there, I'll never forget something that she said to me that day, and how it kind of hit me in a new way, but and in kind of a humorous way. But she said, "Getting old ain't for sissies."
That's what my dad says all the time.
And I sure know that when I turned 40 this year, and so I certainly am already feeling it, and I can't even imagine in 40 more plus years how my story's going to change. Right?
Right.
So anyway, today we're going to be talking about senior transitions and what that means and what that looks like. Share a little funny, humorous story here with you today. There was a senior citizen that was pulled over by a state trooper, and the trooper came up and he said, "Hey, if you can give me a good reason for speeding, I'm going to let you go." So the older gentleman looked back at the trooper and he said, "Years ago, my wife ran off with a state trooper, and I thought you were bringing her back." Okay, well.
Oh, you always find the best jokes.
Well, I try. I think that it's definitely good to bring some humor to situations, and especially the topic that we're talking about today. As I had mentioned, I previously, before getting back into the real estate industry, was working in the senior care industry for over 7 years, helping seniors and helping their families navigate through senior transitions and helping them with all of their senior needs. It is a very challenging time in a senior's life and in their family's life. And being a resource for them and being someone who can help them is vital to...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To create, and vital to helping to create a solid care plan with their other team of healthcare professionals.
Well, there's so many facets in everything that they have to make decisions on.
Yes.
I mean, it's mind-boggling.
Yes, and it is mind-boggling for families. And in fact, when I was in my late 20s, my grandfather was diagnosed with dementia, later found out he had Alzheimer's. And so my family was thrown in the midst of this, storm, if you will, and wondering, how do we help him? What do we do? And you're having to learn about dementia and learn about Alzheimer's. What are, not just the symptoms of that, but what, how do we best care for them, and what resources do we need? And many years later, looking back, we all did the very best that we could with the situation that we had, but many of myself and much of my family, we just did not even know of all of the resources that were available. So that really made me passionate about helping provide resources and letting people know what is available to help them. For example, my grandfather was a veteran, and so we were able to look into getting the aid and attendance benefit for him, which is because he was a veteran, and there's certain eligibility factors. And we're going to do another show on this soon, because I really want the veterans and their spouses and the community to understand what could potentially be available to them there. But we went through, looking into this veteran aid and attendance benefit for him. And long story short, by the time that he was approved for that, it was too late. He already he had to go into a skilled care facility. And at the time, then, like I said, many years later, learning about the different resources, I realized that we have right here in Gainesville an adult daycare facility.
I did not realize that.
Yes. And so the guest house is here for, especially, specifically for dementia and Alzheimer's patients, as an opportunity for families to be able to have a respite. Even if even if it's
and family members definitely need that from time to time.
Yes, and having a respite opportunity, even if they just wanted to drop them off on a daily basis. Many of the residents would go on a regular basis, every day of the week, before families that are still working. And so, if we'd have had that resource or known about that resource for us, then what a difference that would have made.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So I think, when we go through experiences like that, we often, are challenged then to say, well, I want to be able to help somebody else. I want to pay that forward and let them know what's available so that it can help them and help their family members.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, with senior transitions, again, there's understanding the resources that are available for families. You don't know what you don't know. I've worked with or been a part of the organizations, the North Georgia Senior Resource that's located here in Hall County, North Georgia area. We have many of these different groups around Gwinnett, Athens, been a part of those groups and connected and have great relationships with different home care agencies, the medical transport companies, to hospice, to all of these different things that are needed through these transitions. And so translating now, working in the real estate industry, it's also very vital in families that are now in a crisis mode. And that's usually when we encounter them is in a crisis mode. I think that we can do something to change that, and we're going to talk about that a lot during the course of this show, because that's definitely one of our goals. And so we want to be able to help families to get through these crisis moments.
Yes. I'm so glad you're doing this, April. This is great.
Thank you. It's a really unique specialty. There aren't a lot of seniors that provide a lot of realtors that provide a senior transition specialty. And then when you've actually experienced it and been through it yourself with family members, then it's a whole other level.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Because once you live through it, then you know how people are feeling. You know what they're struggling with. You know the decisions that they're having to come to the table and make. And you also know how overwhelming it can be. And because it's an emotional thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. The emotional factor is very, very big in this situation on both spectrums. So first of all, the seniors are in one of the most challenging, sad times of their lives, whether it's they're facing a physical challenge, whether they're facing something like dementia, all of the factors that are presented to them, that's hard. If they're having to consider leaving their home that they've been in for 25, 30 plus years. In the case of my grandma, she lived in the home that my grandpa built. So to think about, leaving.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's a very heartbreaking thing. And thankfully she was able to stay home, except for a portion of having, to be away. But that's not always the situation with every family member. And, when I was working at a senior living company, I was in a training one day, and one of the ladies that did training really brought out something unique and special to me that has, again, stuck with me, even though I worked in the industry and I've gone through it myself. But she said, whenever you have a senior who's moving into a new apartment, they're downsizing from an entire home of things, right? Into this little small, maybe 700-800 square feet. And many times, as family members, we have really good intentions, right? So we're like, well, we're going to pack this, and we'll take in this, and you need this, and this, and just like, when we're caring for our kids, sometimes we just kind of take over and try to, with really good intentions, but we're trying to, make this situation easier. We're trying to make it more efficient, but sometimes then the individual gets left out in their decisions.
Right.
And she said, there could be, for example, a chair that there was a special memory. Something happened around that chair, right?
Right.
And even though that chair is absolutely meaningless to maybe the kids or another family member, that carries a significant memory with that person. And so she said, it's really important to try to dig in and ask questions and really find out the significant pieces that will help them with the transition and they're moving into a new home.
That's really great advice.
Yes. And so these are some nuggets that I've taken, from my time and experience in working with seniors and use that in helping people that are either, people that are seniors themselves or their family members and helping them to navigate through this and how to try to make the best educated decisions that they can and helping them to prepare their home for the market. And then some of that is also, navigating through the family concerns and the family issues. As you mentioned, that's the other side of the emotional factor is when you're in the process of selling a home, there's a lot of legality that's involved, and then there's emotions on the side of the children. And I know that I've sat in many a room with different family members and had to learn how to, you learn that you have to be a good listener.
Right.
And a good negotiator and do your best to help those families because they are very, upset about their mom and dad, and they want the best for them. And everybody might have a different plan on what they think is the best.
Right.
So, helping to kind of almost be a
mediator.
There. Absolutely. And I'm an only child, so, I don't really, have anybody else to kind of be in that situation with, but I know the dynamics with family members and, and how things can be. So it's so important for us to, to be there to help them because emotions do cloud our thinking at times, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with that, I know that, we're talking about senior transitions where what we also want to talk about today is another side of the senior care world and the senior in the industry is reverse mortgages.
Yes. And there's a lot of misunderstanding about reverse mortgages, especially in the children's side of things. A lot of seniors spent their whole life paying off their house or paying down their house. So when they retire, they don't have a mortgage payment. And what we see happening is that the seniors get to an age where they need additional help. Maybe they need somebody to come clean the house. Maybe they need somebody to do the lawn. Maybe they need a sitter to come in and sit with them. Maybe the husband can't take care of the wife anymore, but they aren't prepared to put her in a home or assisted living facility or something like that. So they can bring somebody in, somebody like Visiting Angels or some of the other care places where they can come in and help with household chores and things like that. Well, with the reverse mortgage, these people are able to tap into that equity of their home. They don't have to take all the equity out at one time, but they have those additional resources to take care of them when they need it. So a lot of seniors maybe just be on Social Security and not have a pension. It depends on their particular situation, but this is a great way to help finance the stuff that they need. God forbid if a husband and wife is separated and one goes into a nursing home and the other one is home. Well, that equity can help pay for the nursing home for the one, which is a great thing for them to be able to do. And one thing that the children don't understand with reverse mortgages, mom and dad still own their house. There's just a mortgage on it, just like any other mortgage, except this one, the mortgage balance does increase because the interest tied to the principal balance is charged to the mortgage, and you have the option to pay that or not to pay it. So it puts you in more control over your finances.
Right. So I guess one of the questions that some people would have is, so how does that work if something changes and they need to sell the home, or if something happens and then they pass away, then what happens at that time with a reverse mortgage? How does that work?
The mom and dad can always sell their house at any time and just pay off the mortgage. It's just like any other real estate transaction. If both of them pass away, then the estate or the beneficiaries of the estate have up to 12 months to either refinance the house or to sell it and pay off the mortgage.
Okay, right.
So it's a way for the seniors to pay for their expenses without having to rely on the kids, which is great. And then the kids just pay it back once the house is sold.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a wonderful option for some seniors. And I'm sure that you've helped some families with this reverse mortgage.
I have. I had this one precious couple that I helped, and he called me. He was like, I need a reverse mortgage. And he had a sense of urgency about it. And so we got to work on it. We did all the things that we needed to do to get the reverse mortgage, because there is a few qualifying steps that the seniors have to provide as far as documentation. We have to do an appraisal, title work, the same stuff that we have to do with every real estate transaction. And he's like, I just want to get this done so my wife is taken care of when I pass. And so we worked feverishly. We got him closed, and his wife called me about 2.5 months after we closed, and he passed away 6 weeks later. And she was completely set with reverse mortgage because she would not have been able to pay the mortgage on her reduced Social Security. So that was his driving force, is like, I've got to get her taken care of. And the reverse mortgage was the only way that worked for them.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great story.
Mm-hmm. And she calls me every year, twice a year. She's just so precious.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Well, that's why we do this, right?
Exactly.
Yes, that's wonderful. So there are so many resources that are available for seniors and for their families, and we want to help families with making sure that we can make it a smooth transition as possible, and providing the information to help the families make an educated decision, and kind of hold your hand through the process and whatever that looks like. And we've been through it. We've helped many people through it. And so we love continuing to do that. We would love to connect with you online. You can find me on Facebook and on Instagram at Realtor April Rooks. And Cindy, tell us how we can find you on social media.
I'm on Stockton.com is our company website, so you can just do a search for me, Cindy Vandiver, and you can reach me at 706-219-2500.
Yeah, we're always here to help you with your needs. Well, now we're going to move to our From the Heart moment. This is a moment where we tell heartwarming stories of people in our community that are doing good work and good things that we're hearing going on out there. I want to share with you about something that just happened this past December again, and that's what's called this event called the Christmas Blessings. A dear friend of mine, Veronica, has a nonprofit organization called Dorcas Place, and she helps the community in such a big way. She actually will take donations and then pass those donations directly on to whoever needs them. So whether that's clothing, bed sheets and linens, toys, everything that you can imagine, she takes that and passes that on. She's I've heard the stories of where they've where clothes that I've donated personally have went to homeless students here at Gainesville High School, which is kind of unimaginable, but and how appreciative they were of that. She has done this Christmas Blessings for a few years, and so they did the Christmas Blessings again this year, partnering with the Edge Church here in Gainesville. And this year looked a little bit different, as a lot has. This past year's looked a lot different, as it has for most of us. And so what they did this year was they collected toys, and then they passed these toys on and did this Christmas Blessings event with there at the church, and where they gave away these toys for needy kids in the community.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes, and I was a part of the event a couple years ago, and they usually feed them and give them hygiene items, clothes, toys, and it's always a very, very big blessing for all kinds of families in our community that are lacking resources, and just to see the kids' faces light up and how.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah,
I bet that was a great time.
Yeah. So this year, of course, I did not get to go to it, but I heard about this and wanted to share what a great job that they're doing in our community, and we really, really appreciate their love for our kids in the community. Well, today we have talked about how valuable it is to have someone to help seniors and their families through these times of transition. And then what else have we talked about and learned today, Cindy?
Well, I think if you're going through something like this, the main thing that you need to do is find a trusted advisor that can help you. I think that's the most important thing, because like you said, you don't know what you don't know. And you've got to reach out and you've got to figure out somebody that knows these things, these different facets, and it may be 2 or 3 different people that can help you make the best choice for your family.
That's right. So we've had a great show today. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Next week, we are going to be talking about new beginnings and how we're going to recover from 2020.
I'm looking forward to that one.
So you are definitely going to want to tune in for that one.
This podcast features mortgage banker Cindy Vandiver, NMLS 164102. That's Stockton Mortgage, NMLS 8259, Equal Housing Lender. Views and opinions expressed are those of Ms. Vandiver and do not necessarily reflect those of Stockton Mortgage. Ms. Vandiver's information should not be considered to be legal or tax advice.